Looking to renovate or flip a home? Stay tuned for some great advice from an expert contractor on today's Real Talk. Today we have the wonderful Jon TenBrinke from Blackjack Contracting here with us today. Thanks for coming on, Jon.
I appreciate you having me.
So navigating the real estate market is tough enough for buyers, and then you get to throw on all the ins and outs of doing renovations and work to homes, things to avoid in certain homes. So I'm happy that you came on because I've got a few burning questions from buyers for you.
Sounds good.
So let's start with any mistakes that you see buyers make, first-time buyers or seasoned buyers make when they're buying a home, like maybe the wrong type of home or the wrong type of work that they're taking on. Is there any sort of insight you can give to people?
Yeah, so I think the biggest mistake people make is they don't really do enough due diligence when they're buying the house, depending on what they want to plan. Right now, there's some handy people.
Right.
And those are the people that, yeah, good for you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, then you can keep your costs low. But if you're not that type of person and you want to do some extensive renovations or even minor renovations to the home, getting the right advice from the right person is what I see people make huge mistakes.
Right.
So if you get you got your home inspector or the wrong real estate agent telling you, oh, you can renovate this place for $25,000, $30,000 when it's actually a $100,000 job. Well, that really messes up people's plans.
No
I
kidding.
see it all the time. So I mean, as I said before, the best recommendation I could always get is that agents usually have a good stable of contractors or home inspectors, but get advice on how much it's going to cost or what you can do to this home from an actual horse's mouth, not from a second party. It's my biggest opinion.
And then you talked about good contractors, bad contractors. Yeah. If you're just Googling or trying to figure out, asking friends for recommendations, how do you find the right contractor to do the work? Are there some things that you can look out for when you have somebody to come out and do a quote?
Yeah, this is like a 4-hour subject. We'll try to condense it. Is like, I love the business, but it is the world's worst business. There's no barrier to entry. So contracting itself, it's the least trusted business, and honestly, there's a lot of problems with it. But referrals are usually one of the best ways because at least they have past experiences with it. But you have to do your due diligence because contractors have different skill sets. Right. So like, for me, I'm a master electrician. Obviously, I'm an electrical expert. But like on the renovations, we're a general home renovation specialist. My specialty is not putting on additions, building new. I'm the wrong guy for that.
Right.
But guys that go do new construction and new additions are not usually the right guys to do interior renovations. So when you're interviewing potential contractors, it's important that you're interviewing the right guy who has the right skill set. So how do you do that? Well, you got to look at past work. You got to call past jobs.
Okay.
You got to have referrals, check references, all that stuff. So just because you and I might get along and say, oh, I really like working with this guy, but I might be the wrong guy for the wrong jobs.
Yes.
So you got to make sure you're doing your due diligence and you're doing your research about the person before you just jump into a contract with them. The other couple subjects is like, the paperwork process is the most annoying part about doing a renovation, but this is where most people have the biggest mistakes is like they get a price on the back of a business card handed to them. It's like, oh, that must be okay. Yeah. You need to have full scope of works, contract, itemized, make sure that it's the scope of work that matters. So that way, the bait and switch is what I call it, is that a lot of contractors, especially the bad ones, will go in with a lower price to get the job. Right. But they've skipped half of what you need to do it, so you're going to get change order after change order after change order, and this job that I might have been 25% more on is now, I would have been cheaper because I included everything. So it's really also important that when you're getting bids, if you get 2-3 bids, which everybody always recommends, is that you check apples to apples, oranges to oranges. If there's something missing, this is where consultants or somebody, like, it was a good idea to look over these things. And then if you do all those things, you should be in a lot better shape.
So referrals, research, don't go to Kijiji and find the lowest bidder.
No, I mean, the lowest bidder never usually works out. Now, not always. You could get lucky. Yeah, I mean, usually they say look in the middle range, right? But again, that doesn't really help you until you know this person can do the job and what kind of track record they have with the specific job you're asking for.
Exactly. Now, you work with a lot of investors, people doing renovations, flipping houses. Is there any advice you can give to people that maybe don't want to do that as a full business, but want to do this as a side project? What are some properties they could keep their eye on, or particular states of properties that are more lucrative than others?
Sure. I mean,
Again, a long-winded question.
Yeah, it's a long-winded question. The market has changed so much over the last few years because when I first got into this, you get into 2015, 2016, flipping was awesome.
Yeah,
there was
you
margins.
couldn't
You couldn't go wrong. There was margins to make. The houses were still reasonably priced, renovation prices. So now, over the last 5 years, because property values shot up and renovation costs shot up, flipping was really tough.
Yeah.
So to make a successful flipping, you had to be in more of the high-end market. You had to be in like the Burlingtons and Ancasters, where you have a high purchase price. You're going to have a high renovation value, but the dollar was worth the squeeze. Getting into the beginner stuff was really hard to make a profit, where it was better to get into like a duplex conversion where there was still money to be made. And we've done like 250 of those the last 5 years. Now that's a big boy game where you're going to be in some decent money. The holding costs, you're going to be 4 or 5 month project. You're going to be into 150, 200,000, but there was money to be made. Now the market is kind of changing again. So we've had some little bit of recess, but not a ton. So there's a little bit of potential to do flips, but you have to look at all the costs involved with a flip,
right? Yes.
Right, and that's where it's still tough. Where if you're getting into regular renovations to live in, it's a lot different of a subject. So when you're discussing your project with a contractor or a team, the end goal of the project's really important. If you're going to be just flipping out for profit, okay, well, we have to be really tight in the budget. If you're doing a buy and hold for 5 years, okay, well, then you look at that thing.
Exactly, you gotta look at
if you're doing,
horizon.
everybody was into the burr for the last few years, that was extremely important to know, and all those things. So you have to start with the end in mind, like everybody says, with a renovation, and that's where we're a little bit different as a team because we spent so much time with the investors over the last 5 years that we know you got to have that conversation first.
Okay. And finally, are there any houses or areas or certain projects or renovations that you would give advice to people to avoid when they're out looking for their next house or project?
So, it all depends on your stomach, right? For me, because I know a little, I have the skill set, is that I would look for the absolute biggest dump I can find.
Right.
Because I know that I can do it for half the cost of everybody else.
No matter how bad.
And I'm not scared of it, but it's just like, the thing is like, how much time and money do you have? How much stomach do you have for it? If you're just getting into this, I don't recommend going full bore into this crazy renovation. Start with a facelift.
Exactly.
And then once you build up your skill set, your knowledge, and a little more capital, then you get into the mediums and bigger projects.
Right.
Now, if this is a homeowner, and now you got to look at, obviously the area is usually number one, the house is number two, and then you could always do anything you want to the house. But again, it's just remember, if we're going to be taking out load-bearing walls and beams and engineering and permits, is that this gets into time and money. So it's what's your stomach for, what's your thing. But again, if you're a homeowner, it's more about the area. If it's you're more about the actual property itself. And if that's the case, again, it's depending on your stomach. But start small, then go big. I've seen some ones that start small, but the problem is they start on the big side, which good for you. I would do the same thing. But the point of the matter is if you start small, you can learn how to do this at a better timeline, a better budget.
Awesome. Lots and lots and lots of great advice. Thanks for coming on, Jon.
Appreciate it.
That's fantastic.